Today, we're going to have a wonderful topic of custom info boosts. This is our third in our series of topics that we've addressed. Each of these has become a little more involved. Custom info boost, I think, is one of our favorite and one of the most used aspects of Limbic Arc. And I know that there's a lot from simple to complex that can happen with custom info boost. I'm looking forward to it. Dr. Cook, we're glad you're here. Looking
Me
forward to
too.
the day.
Good to be here. Good to see you all.
Before we get started, just a couple of things. Again, this is the third in the series of four. If you will look to your invite announcements, you will see links to number one and number two topic. And so you want to go back and look at those through and share them with your friends. They're on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. And be sure and register for next week's call. Next week, our topic is PET, the Zyto PET, which is a fantastic product. So we're glad that you're there. We will be having live Q&A today. And so if you have a question that you would like Dr. Cook to respond to on today's call, then please be sure to put it in the chat. You might want to do it early because I'm sure there will be more questions and we'll be able to handle in our time. But we're looking forward to addressing those questions. We want to note our master affiliate, Ron Spence, on the call today. Ron, we look forward to hearing a few words from you today, and we appreciate what you do. But Dr. Cook, let's get into it.
All right.
Custom info boosts. I mean, where do you even start with something so awesome?
Slide one, George.
Let's start at the beginning. Okay.
Yeah. Let me see if I can share. Let's see. So, Scott, I need sharing turned on.
Okay. So you've got a presentation. I hope it's going to start with some information about what we can and can't talk about.
Yeah, I know that is that's where we always start, George.
It's about where we begin, isn't it? I note on here we've got at the top of our leaderboard that Dory's here. Dory, welcome. Glad you're here. We've got a lot of friends from all over the world, a lot from Hungary, also a lot from our friends in Italy. Live translations today in Italian and in Hungarian. Thank you to our translators. You do a wonderful job. We appreciate it. Blanca and Roland, you're the best. Okay, Dr. Cook, I see your first slide.
You got me shared there, huh? That's good. Okay. I need to move my view bar here so it's not in the way. Okay, there we go. Okay, as George promised, we're going to begin with the disclaimer. Limbic Arc does not diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease, illness, or injury, or other medical condition. It's designed to improve the quality of life. And as we know, quality of life involves 5 different areas shown here. And today we're going to talk about how the info boost, particularly the custom info boost, helps us accomplish that. So this is the beginning. And what I have done, what you see here on the screen is actually my Limbic Arc account, or my app, opened up a couple of days ago when I built this PowerPoint, and I had an info boost running, so you can see it there. And to create a new custom info boost, I click on New Info Boost, which then brings me to this screen, and I click on the little down arrow where it says Presets, and I click on Custom. And then I want to create a new custom info boost, so I click on that button. And I have to put in a name, and I can put in a description if I want to. What I did is I created an info boost that would help me introduce Limbic Arc to others. And then in the description, you can see I put in making my life stress-free and prosperous. Then you hit the continue button. And at this point, you're going to speak. And this is the screen that just prompts you to talk. When you create a custom info boost, you have to create what's called a spark. And the reason that's the case is because we have an algorithm that will prioritize the library. But in order to make that unique and timely and personal to you, we have to get some biometric data from you, which we then append to our algorithm, and that makes the algorithm unique. It makes it unique and specific to you. But in order to do that, then what we do is we collect information through the energy of your voice. And the reason we use voice as the first input is because your voice carries a tremendous amount of energy, a tremendous amount of information. The words that you speak are almost insignificant. So here are the instructions on how to talk when you're creating your spark. First of all, on the left there, you see you don't sing and you don't read what you're going to say. You want to stay focused on the topic. So in the case of this info boost that I'm creating, I would say something like, I'm interested in introducing Limbic Arc to others, and I'm looking for an info boost that will help me do that. And you only have to speak for 10 seconds, so you don't have to say a lot. But that would be an example that I just gave you of being focused and on target. Here's an example of what you don't want to do. I want to be more effective with Limbic Arc. I started using Limbic Arc when I was in Zurich a couple of years ago, and it was introduced to me by my friend. See, that's an off topic. So it's true you're talking about Limbic Arc, but you're not talking about the specific outcome that you want your info boost to help you with. So stay on topic. The next one is the words you use. Frankly, they're almost insignificant. You can speak in any language because what we're looking at is not words, we're looking at voice energy. So you then click on the start the voice input, and as soon as you do, the little thing starts to respond, and you can see that by the time I could capture this screen thing, I was into it 8 seconds because I only had 2 seconds left. And when you have finished your recording, Limbic Arc will say, okay, your voice input is complete. If you don't like what you said, you can click on that restart voice, the voice input button below. But if you're happy with it, you click on continue. Okay, so after you have created your voice input, then the Limbic Arc will analyze that and create this target, and we affectionately refer to this as the flower. Sometimes we get asked, is there any significance in the shape of the flower? The answer is the flower is created dynamically from your voice energy, but we don't give you enough information to make it meaningful. We just give you enough information to make it pretty. So it's what we call eye candy. So it's a nice thing you can look at, but the purpose of it is for us to get the next piece of biometric data that we need, which is your kinetic response. And this is done by touching the target. And then when you do, it moves to a new position. And when it stops, you touch it again and again and again and again. You do that 5 times. The timing is what we're measuring. From the time the target stops to when you touch it, that's the biometric data that we're interested in. We then combine all of that information and we append it then to our scanning algorithm, and we run the scan of the library and prioritize the things in the library according to your unique data at that moment in time. And that brings us then to this screen, and you can see that I have the name of my InfoBoost here. And I could go ahead and just hit the activate button, but I'm curious. I want to know what showed up. And so I click on the down arrow there under Boost Ingredients, and you see that the top 10 items by default are selected. So those are automatically loaded into my InfoBoost. Now, you may have different ways of proceeding. I'm going to tell you how I proceed most of the time. So I look at the top 10, and by the way, sometimes I don't just do this really fast. I'll say, oh, what's at the top? Oh, look, there's an auricular Shen Men. That happens to be an acupuncture point. Bentonite clay. And if I don't know what any of these are, I can just click on them and it'll open up the description. Well, the bottom item, let me go back a slide. You see the 10th item was a 93 percentile in the sort. And I like to go down to 90%. And so I scroll down, and so here's my 93% item. It's selected, and then I go ahead and select all of these items down to 90%. And I pay attention to what they are. There's different acupuncture points here. There's different foods. The bottom one here you'll see is a homeopathic potency, a 1LM. Now, because I know understand homeopathy, this is what I do. I will tell you that you don't have to do this. You could just activate your InfoBoost at this point in time. But because when one homeopathic remedy or potency shows up, I like to add more to it. It actually gives it a little bit more horsepower. And so I go up to the all ingredients there, and I click on that down arrow again. And then I click on ingredient categories. When we put items in the library, we put them into different categories as appropriate. And so they're listed here in English in alphabetical order. And I scroll down to homeopathic potencies, and then I click on that down or that arrow, and it opens it up, and you'll see right here at the top, there's 1LM, and it has a check mark by it because it's already in the circuit. It's loaded to be included in my InfoBoost. I look down and I see a few other potencies that make sense to me right below it. And so I click those two on, and then I close this field. And that takes me back to this page, and I know that I've got the items ready to go. My default is going to be 14 days, and this is one I want to leave on for 14 days. And so I click on the Activate the InfoBoost button, and it takes me back to the page showing me now that I have 2 InfoBoosts active, the one that I had when I came in and the one that I just created. And I can see here that it's going to expire on the 1st of September. So it gives me a time when that'll actually expire. Now, the next thing I want to do is click on the menu button, which is right there. And I'm going to add a cert. And the reason I do this is because I always do it. But the reason I always do it is because there may be some subconscious roadblocks to me sharing Limbic Arc, and I may not know what they are. So if I go in and use the same voice spark or the same spark to create a CERT InfoBoost, it then gives me the information I need to move past those subconscious roadblocks. So I click on the active certs, and it says, no, you don't have any. Okay, so click on New Cert InfoBoost and start your voice input. Now, when I click on that button, I'm not going to have to go through the spark creation again because I already created the spark. And that spark will remain active for 24 hours. But I click on the start the voice input, and then it says, hey, you don't need to do this, but here's the results. So now I end up with my 3 zones that are most out of balance, 1, 2, and 11. And that's the ones that are most out of balance relative to whatever my spark was. So in this case, the one that it might be an indication of what these underlying saboteurs, subconscious saboteurs could be. So then I go in, and as we explained last week when we talked about CERT, I go in and select the items, and that will move those yellow bars across. And then I click on activate the CERT Info Boost, and that CERT Info Boost now will remain active for me for 24 hours. And we talked about that last week as well. So now I'm loaded up. I've got my Share Limbic Arc Info Boost active, and I have my CERT Info Boost going relative to that, and I'm good to go. Now, there's one thing that I want to share with you that I could have actually included in the last processes, but I wanted to separate it so we could get a little clearer understanding of it. And that is, how do I use the common foods in that? How do I use that category? And this is how I do it. I'll go into Active Info Boosts. So I've clicked on the menu, and then I click on a new Info Boost and custom. I want to do a custom. And of course, I still have my voice information, but I'm going to go through it. So here's my new, I type it in, I call it foods, and then hit continue and start the voice energy. And I don't have to create a new spark in this case, but then I click on the all ingredients, and I click on the ingredient categories. And when I open that area up, I scroll down until I get to common foods. And when I click on that arrow to open it up, this is what I see. At the top is the food that I have the highest priority for. At the bottom of this list are the foods that I have the lowest priority for. And you'll notice that in this case, venison, let me see if I can get my mouse over there. So venison, bison, and barley are already they're already active in this Info Boost, and that's because they're active in my prior Info Boost, so it just carries over. Well, the top items, and again, the items that are 90 or above, those you may want to consider eating more of, but that's just kind of if you're interested. If you want to eat more of something, eat more boysenberries. That's what I would do, or I'd eat more venison. Then I scroll to the bottom, and this is really what I'm interested in. These are the foods that I show the lowest priority for, and the ones that are 10% or below are the ones that I pay attention to, and those you want to avoid for 7 days. You can see I've got celery, I've got caffeine, and Swiss chard. And so you make a little list, or you can make a little list and stick it on your fridge, and that helps you remember what foods to avoid for that week. Now, the advantage of this isn't to say, oh, well, you're allergic to caffeine or you're allergic to Swiss chard. This is not a food allergy test, so you can't make that conclusion. But it's healthy to modify your diet and not just get stuck in a rut and eat the same thing over and over and over and over again. You want some variety, and if you modify that variety, you get healthier, frankly. So what I use this for is, this is just a way for me to know, well, my body really doesn't want any caffeine for the next 7 days. Now, you might say, well, what if I don't drink caffeine, or what if I don't consume caffeine? Well, in that case, I would say, well, start reading labels, because you may be eating something or doing something and ingesting caffeine unwittingly. But, stay away from celery or Swiss chard. And you may say, well, I never eat it, or I love it, or it doesn't matter what the situation is, put it on your fridge and stay away from it. And then the thing you want to do is repeat this in 7 days. Normally, let me back up to that last slide. Normally, in 7 days, this is what I would expect. I would expect when I repeat this common food exercise that the items at the bottom of the list will be different. And they'll be different because I've avoided those foods for 7 days. And they'll be different because this is an energetic evaluation. It's not an allergy test. Well, let me tell you a funny story. Several months ago, I did this and chocolate came up as one of the bottom items. And I like chocolate. And I was eating chocolate pretty much all the time. I have a great source for really good dark chocolate and I like it. Well, I thought, okay, well, I can go without it for a week. So I went out without it for a week. And then I did this again. And to my chagrin or my disappointment, chocolate showed up again. And I thought, well, I avoided it the second week. And the third week, it showed up again. And it really surprised me that it was showing up. But I had avoided it for 3 weeks. Well, then later that week, I had the opportunity to eat some really good chocolate, and I couldn't resist it. I thought, well, what are the chances it's going to show up again on week 4? And I ate some chocolate, and I was miserable. It was just my body had not seen chocolate for so many weeks that it got used to not seeing it. And when I put chocolate back into my body, now I reacted. And so as a result of that, I don't eat chocolate anymore. So you might have those kind of experiences, but most of the time you don't. Most of the time you'll see that these things change every week, and you just change the things you're not eating for a week. It's a good thing to do. So you repeat it in 7 days, and lo and behold, your life will improve. Your quality of life will be better. I can tell you that the information that I received from my food experience has improved the quality of my life. I'm healthier because I don't eat chocolate. As sad as that makes me. And George, that's my last slide.
All right. Well, Dr. Cook, thank you for that. Here's what's amazing to me is you have demonstrated in that example very clearly a custom info boost. If you look in the list of info boosts, you didn't see introducing limbic arc, the anxiety or the fear that you might have about talking about limbic arc to other people. And so that was your custom info boost, and you named it such. You went through all of the examples, including how to apply CERT and the emotional blockages to it. And that's you can do limbic arc, you can do an info boost on literally any topic that you're worried about. That's a great example of how to effectively use a custom info boost. I know on our call today we have Ron Spence. Ron lives in the space of custom info boosts.
He's the king of custom info boosts.
He has created a ton of info boosts, and I'm sure that he can help you find where those are, and he makes those accessible to everybody. But Ron, have you got just a minute where maybe you could tell us a little bit about custom info boost from your perspective?
You bet. Well, every time we do these things, I learn something new from Dr. Cook about the foods. And for example, if I'm eating a lot of something, I notice that I'll score sometimes real low on those preference scores. I'm thinking, why is that happening? Well, it just dawned on me, my body's telling me, Ron, eat something else. You've got enough of that stuff. So anyways, here's why I do custom info boosts. First of all, I've been doing research for over 40 years. I get tons of really good stuff. And from that, I create formulas from it. And it's valid research that shows that certain ingredients have an impact on health in the physical world. By the way, I call the physical world the materium. Okay. So that's a made up name. So in any event, this information that comes in from these formulas, I try out. And by the way, when you're on the internet and you find something that's really great, that I do all the time, and it's like $300-400 for a formula of something, I'm thinking, oh man, I don't want to spend $300 or $400 for a formula. Now you can kick the tires and try it out before you can physically do that. So I save a lot of money creating personal info boosts on something I want to try. But when Dr. Cook was talking about the words, not important, it reminds me of the impact of emotion. That saying that I can't hear your words because your actions are so loud. Okay, and that has a lot of truth to it, because when, for example, if you're creating an info boost for prosperity, abundance and prosperity, and yet to get the most effect and impact, I teach lifestyle changes. For example, if you are wanting to be more abundant, but yet in your life, your actions are representing lacking, you're doing things that represent lacking, the power of your emotions and who you are come through stronger than just asking for words, wanting to change to abundance and prosperity. And so that has a great deal of impact in how successful you are. If some person says, geez, I've been using this and it's not really impacting me that much. It's always what you're doing in your life and your actions that take away from that. So I've created a library of InfoBoost, probably 140 plus, and I've discovered something that every week, there isn't a week that goes by that I'm not jumping into that library and enhancing it and making it better. You know why? Because I come across new research with new ingredients that I can enhance the existing formula and make it better. I've recently discovered in the last some months that I can enhance almost any formula by taking a deep dive into AI and finding new research that I haven't found before. And many times I'll add a couple, 10 or a dozen more ingredients to a formula because of research that I was not aware of that exists somewhere that was dug up by AI. So we have all these tools that are available to us. And another thing where Dr. Cook uses CERT, I think that's an excellent way to do this, guys. If you're not using CERT, this could be the thing that you need to make everything work. Okay, because I've always been taught emotions are trapped in our subconscious, and if you have a trapped emotion, that's a negative emotion, we need to clear that to make things work. And it's an excellent tool to help make all the other formulas work a lot better. Okay. Now, one other thing I'd mention because I heard this as a question before, for example, on the question about can you do CERT too often? For me, yes. I did it one time, one every day. Okay. And after the third or fourth day, I began experiencing Herxheimer's. Okay. So it was too much for me. But yet, I want to also share with you the difference between using a whole formula versus the SparkScan version. There's no right or wrong answer here. I had a conversation with a medical doctor who's very rare using our technology, and she shared with me that she liked the full formula, the custom formula, better than doing a CERT version. So everybody's going to have to evaluate. I like doing because my formulas are 40, 50 ingredients or sometimes larger. I like to do a CERT version of it and pick the top 70%. For me, that's worked for me, but you'll have to find out for yourself. Okay, so in any event, the technology is amazing. You can use the custom to create anything you want. I hear a rumor mill that we're going to be able to make that process a lot easier in the near future, being able to take a whole formula and making it active rather than one at a time. So that I have, and I suspect you do too, in the custom side, I have contacts who would like to take, for example, our pet formulas and do something with them and separate them. The company, we're missing out on opportunities there. As also we have, I have a sports athletic group, okay, that want to take the custom formulas, but they don't want to put an ingredient at a time. As soon as we have the ability to switch over and do a whole formula, it opens our market greatly into athletic colleges and pros, because they want to do the whole formula. They don't want to do one at a time. So that's another
Now,
great
Ron,
market for us.
Ron,
Ron,
you're
I
getting
think
us in trouble now because we're not ready to release that yet.
Sure. Well, oh, really?
It'll
I
come.
thought you were going to do
It'll,
that
hey,
tomorrow. Darn.
It's coming soon, but don't get us in trouble.
hey, Ron, maybe
Okay. Well,
you could let
probably
people,
this year.
maybe you could let people know you've put a lot of work into creating your info boosts, and you've got a wonderful list. You've got hundreds of them. If you would let people know where to find them if they wanted to see the work that you've done, we could even put that in chat, and that way people could kind of see and take access to the work that you've done. And maybe they can use your info boost, or they can use them to create their own custom info boost. Limbic Arc is so powerful in so many ways. But
It is. Guys, most of you are probably on using my newsletter. I send out a newsletter every Sunday. And at the top of the newsletter, um, I have a link in there that can take you to a library that lists all those.
okay.
And by the way, I keep those updated every week. So if you've got one of those formulas and you're using in your back office, you want to go check the library often, because I'm upgrading those all the time, especially with AI.
Great.
And so, anyways, for example, this last week, someone contacted me about helping someone who needs some, I think it's called osteoporosis, and I have a formula that supports that. Let's put it that way, okay? But I've enhanced it significantly, so you'll want to go see that in my newsletter.
Well, Ron, I appreciate you joining in with us. I mean, what we'll do is we'll put in, if you want to put in the chat a link to so someone can subscribe to your newsletter, or that's not there, that would be great. But thank you for joining in. I, it's hard to take a complex topic like custom info boosts and make it simple. And so what we're trying to do is to make that happen. I promised up front that we would take some questions. And Dr. Cook, Ron, maybe we'll keep you on board too, and see if we can answer some questions. Dr. Cook, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, first question. This is from Gail. Gail, I'm so glad you're here. Can you please differentiate in our pre-built info boost? We have 5 elements female and 5 elements male. We also have his and hers. Can you give some insights into the differences on the gender there?
Well, the male is his, the female is hers. No, let me, the his and the hers, those were created early on, and we still add things to them. Those are, for his, it's a list of items that have a known benefit in the real world. They have a known benefit for males, and the opposite for females. Now, the 5 element, female and male, those were created by some doctors, I believe in Hungary, and I'm sorry, I can't remember their name, but they actually did the research. They built those, and they're based on 5 element theory, which is a Chinese medicine theory about how to achieve optimal health. And so those are more comprehensive, I would say, because they're more complex in the way they were built and formulated. The way you use the 5 element ones is you run the Spark scan, And then you select the items down to 70%. So if you're a female, you would go down to 70%. If you're male, you go down to 70%. And so normally I teach, at least what I do, and that is I go down to 90%. But in those particular info boosts, you want to go down to 70% because that's the way they were built.
Okay. Okay, let's move on. Christina asks, can I do a voice print or voice input for my mother who has dementia? Or can I do it for my daughter to help her without her knowing? I see those as two different questions, Dr. Cook.
Let's take the first one first.
Okay.
So the answer to that is yes, you can. You can do what is called a surrogate info boost. That is where you act as a surrogate for the person to whom the info boost is directed, and you speak on their behalf. It's kind of like power of attorney. Now, if your mother is suffering from dementia, she can't say to you, would you speak for me? But because of your relationship, it's appropriate that you could do that. And I would probably do that in a friends and family. I'd set up an account for mom, and then I would turn on that info boost in her friends and family account. With regard to the second question, and that was the young girl, the young member.
Yes. Can I do one for my daughter to help her without her knowledge?
Without her knowing.
Mm-hmm.
This is the way I would do that. I would not do it with the intention of changing my daughter. I would do it with the intention of changing me relative to my daughter. So let's say that my daughter is making some poor choices, and she's maybe running around with some friends that are doing things that I know are not going to create a happy life for her. And I'm concerned about it because she's rebellious, she's not listening to me. I would then do an info boost, and this is the way I would create my spark. I would say, I'm really concerned about my daughter. She's doing things that I know I just feel are going to lead to a sad life, and I would like to be in a position to influence her in a more positive way. Boom. I've got my 10 seconds. And then I turn the info boost on, and the effect of the info boost will be to create a change in my field. And because of my relationship with my daughter, she will naturally be a benefactor in the change of my field. And then let me tell you what I would expect the outcome to be. If it was a direct benefit, my daughter would come home one day and she'd say, you know, I really don't like these friends I'm running around with. I think I'm just going to stop running. And I would go, hallelujah, it's a miracle. An indirect benefit would be that I may become less tense or less likely to preach to her. And so I become more accepting of her no matter what her choice is. And that change in my field will then open our relationship up where she feels safer and she doesn't feel like I'm just there to, beat her up because she's making bad choices. And so the change will then happen as the result of my change, not as the result of her change.
Okay. I love that, Dr. Cook. The way you change is to change yourself, because part of that relationship belongs to you.
Yeah.
And that's great. There's another take on the same question from Mariana. What if I create an info boost for my relative? I have a voice sample. Sounds like maybe she has a voice recording that he has sent me, but I click on the flower. Is that okay?
Yeah, I think so. And there's no, it's not like Limbic Arc is administering a drug. You're only using information. And so it's kind of like if I gave you a book, George, and said, hey, here's a book that's got some great information in it. That's what an info boost is. Now it's more than that because it comes to you at a subconscious level. But if I try an experiment, there is no contraindication. I'm not going to hurt my relative by trying it one way. And if it doesn't work, well, then try it another way. And so that's the cool thing about Limbic Arc is you can experiment without doing anybody damage.
Okay. Okay. Next question by Zambori. Why doesn't the Boost ingredient library include items like ivermectin or some of these branded ingredients? There are some things that are, I don't know, fenbendazole or some other.
Fenbendazole.
Yeah.
Well, and the reason is because, first of all, we're not a medical device. And if we put those drugs in, it would be an inference that we intend this to be a substitute for those drugs. And that's not the way it works. So we don't put them in to avoid the misperception that we are a medical device. The other reason we don't is because we don't put any proprietary products in. If George, if you formulate an amazing vitamin C compound, we're not going to take that and put it in the library because that's your formula. So we don't want to violate any copyright issues that might exist. And so for that reason, you won't see any proprietary products in either. But prescription drugs especially are taboo. We had early experience on Zyto side with the FDA and drugs, and they made them take us out. They made us take them out of our library, and we fought it for a little while until our very high-powered attorney said, "You're going to lose. Quit fighting." So yeah. We're not going to go there with Limbic Arc.
Well, and Ron, I know that you do a lot of formulations. When someone comes to you, and I mean, first of all, any of these named drugs are combinations of ingredients, right? A lot of them from botanicals and other things like that. There's nothing that says that you can't go and create your own version using our amazing library. And Ron, I probably didn't say it the way you would say that, but I know that you do that all the time.
Yeah, and in fact, if I'm trying something new that came from a research study or an existing product that's out there that I want to try, I never use the exact formula. I always take their formula, and you're allowed to change it 10%, and now it's yours. So I always add other complementary ingredients to that from other research to make sure that it's unique to what I'm doing on that. So
Okay.
there was one other thing too. I wanted to share this with you. Um, I'm always asking, you probably are too, when people do a voice scan and when it comes up in the top 10 or whatever it might be, and they don't know what the definition is, they'll click on it and it'll show they might be a female and yet it's talking about a male product. And that some people, they have a problem with that. Well, here's my answer to that. Okay. What's going on there is that there's hundreds of phytochemicals in these ingredients, and your innate intelligence knows everything that's in there. Okay, and even though we have a description that says it's for this, most likely used for that, there is another couple hundred reasons why those ingredients are there, and your innate intelligence knows that you need something in there, and even though we mislabel it in a sense, okay, your innate intelligence knows there's something in there of value to you, and that's the reason why it's calling that up.
Okay. So in other words, if I take if I take my daughter's prenatal vitamin, I'm going to get some benefit out of it. We just call it a prenatal vitamin just because of marketing, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I don't know if everybody's able to look at the comment section. Adrian has shared a amazing, powerful example. It's a daily reminder of helping, how we can stay connected to our intentions. And anyway, you can read it later. Thank you for sharing your story, but there's a question that comes with it. By Adrian, how powerful is a simple daily reminder in helping us stay connected with our intentions? I restated that wrong first, but Dr. Cook, daily reminders. I mean, should we be thinking about this?
The way Limbic Arc is built is you get a continuous flow of the information in the info boost, and you get a periodic bump consciously. So it either comes to you as a text or it comes to you as an email on the schedule that you set up. So even though you may not be looking at it like the list of foods that you stick on your refrigerator, you are getting a subconscious input and a conscious input.
Right.
You know, if you're trying to change your energy posture from the conscious down, then these daily reminders are critical. But when you're working from the subconscious up, the subtle conscious reminder is sufficient. You don't have to have, you don't have to have it stuck on the refrigerator.
Okay. Well, look, there's a lot that our body does. You've said many times that the smartest part of us happens just automatically. It's below the level of consciousness. Putting conscious intent to things, I think helps. I don't know that there's anything wrong with that, and use it as a good tool. Okay. Last question. There are a lot that we're not going to get to. I'm sorry about. I wish that we had more time, but Dr. Cook, it has to do with the HomeAccord. Does the HomeAccord homeopathic potencies give a collection of potencies so you don't need to choose another one?
The fast answer to that is yes.
Okay.
If it comes up as a HomeAccord, that's enough.
Okay. Okay. I would maybe remind everybody, it's interesting. It's hard to go at a high level on some of these topics. If you wanted to spend an hour with Dr. Cook talking about homeopathy, you would find that many of the things that in homeopathy are already included in Limbic Arc. You don't need to be an expert in homeopathy to take advantage of these principles. You just need to use Limbic Arc. It's already pre-built into it. So anyway, okay. Dr. Cook, thank you so much. I would just give everyone a reminder. We'll be sending out an invitation again for next week. We're going to be talking about PET. Buckle up. It's going to be awesome. So in the meantime, we will also put links to the recording of this conversation. Final words, Dr. Cook.
Well, it's great to be here with everybody. Ron, it's great to have you here with us and appreciate your input. You can tell that Ron's wiser than I am because he has more white hair and a longer beard. So
yeah. You remember you're my junior. You're younger than me.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you. I appreciate that reminder. I love you all, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Cook. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.